You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, YNR fans. So we've got Audra Charles ready to burn Kyle Abbott's life to the ground, and she's looking at Claire Newman as someone she might be able to use against him. That's the vibe in recent episodes. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and let's talk about what Audra does to undermine Kyle. Please click subscribe if you haven't. So now let's get into it. This week, we have Audra boasting to Nate Hastings about how she pulled a fast one on Kyle. She's still mad that Kyle tattled to Victor Newman about her telling Nate he bought Glissade, and she wants payback so bad. Audra is feeling pretty invincible since she defeated Tucker McCall, but I think Kyle is a harder target for her to take down. If you remember, Tucker was head over heels in love with Audra, and that's how she was able to get close enough to him to pull off that epic betrayal. But Kyle doesn't have any sort of romantic attachment to Audra, so there's no soft spot for her to stab into. And she bragged to Nate about taking a meeting on the sly that would undermine Kyle, her co-CEO. And as Audra was gloating, Kyle kind of slid up on them and absolutely floored her. Turns out he beat Audra to the punch and took that meeting before she could snake it out from under him. And it sounded like he closed the deal, so that will make her look weak to Victor. When Kyle and Audra started bickering, then Nate stepped away and went over to join Claire Newman, who was at the door. So they sit at the bar, and Claire and Nate are watching this Kyle versus Audra showdown. And Nate advises her, just let them do their business bickering, for a few minutes. So Claire was a little surprised to see this side of Kyle where he was getting very hot under the collar, very angry with Audra. But Nate was talking about, CEOs are power hungry. And of course, Audra and Kyle are co-CEOs, so both power hungry. And Claire did tell Nate she's not a fan of vendettas, and it's pretty clear that both Kyle and Audra have one against each other. So when Nate and Claire finally rejoined those two on this recent episode, Audra commented that Claire looked put off by the argument. She seemed to be kind of focused on Kyle's new girlfriend. And Claire told Audra that she understands people play rough in business, but then Audra said Kyle's not gentle with anything. That almost felt like some sort of dig about him in the bedroom. To me, that was kind of the vibe I picked up. And at this point, Claire probably is aware that Kyle and Audra were bed buddies at one point. I can't remember a specific conversation about it, but given how bothered Summer Newman was about Kyle being close to Audra, even on a professional basis, I feel like that since it's pretty recent history, Claire probably knows. And if she doesn't already know that Kyle was betting his co-CEO a while back, I'm sure Audra will be happy to spell that out for Claire. So after the two of them walk off together, Kyle asked Claire if seeing him like that bothered her. And she said, no, it doesn't bother me. She was raised by crazy Aunt Jordan, who was a power-hungry lunatic for revenge. And she knows how ruthless her grandpa Victor can be about business. And Kyle did admit that things aren't usually so nasty, but he and Audra just have a lot of animosity towards each other. And Claire told him, you don't need to stoop to Audra's level. And that actually made Kyle feel better, that first, she's not put off. And second, that she gently reminded him that that's not the type of man he wants to be. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then Audra rolled back up on Kyle to let him know that she wrecked the deal that he made and flipped it around to benefit her. She sold some idea of hers to the guy they were both trying to meet with. And then Audra promised she would bury him. And here's what's troubling. Claire has caught Audra's eye, and we know from her past that Audra has no issue playing very dirty when it comes to getting what she wants. And she's used sex as a weapon before. You know, that was part of how she snaked Tucker's company out from under him. So I do think kind of there's no level that Audra won't sink down to. And now she's looking at Claire. So I kind of expect Audra to target Claire to get to Kyle, seeing that his former nanny that he's now dating is a point of vulnerability she can leverage against him. The question is, what will Audra do? Will she try and wreck Kyle's relationship out of revenge? You know, anything Audra can do to weaken Kyle and make him vulnerable is one step closer to her being able to get rid of him as her co-CEO so she can take over Glissade. But I also think Audra is seriously underestimating Claire. I mean, how much does Audra even know about Kyle's young and innocent looking girlfriend? She might think because Claire was a nanny and, you know, seems nice that she's just some squishy, sweet girl that she can manipulate. But Audra might need to check herself before she wrecks herself on that, because if she comes at Claire, I think she's going to find that there's somebody a lot tougher under that blonde hair and sweet smile than she expected. Even so, Kyle's not going to like it if Audra starts targeting Claire. It could get awkward fast. Also, if Audra figures out Claire is very naive about romance and relationships and hasn't been with a man before, I mean, aside from helping her Aunt Jordan try and kill all the Newmans, Claire is very innocent. So Audra is the exact opposite. She is a man-eating barracuda, a total temptress who uses her body to get what she wants and is very unapologetic about her sexuality. So I can imagine Claire being a little unnerved if Audra comes whispering in her ear about all the naughty things that she and Kyle have done in her bed. You know, Audra might even be wicked and tell Claire she'll never be able to satisfy a man like Kyle, and just awfulness to try and mess with Claire's self-esteem and that relationship. I definitely expect Audra might try and sabotage them. First, just for spite, but second, to throw Kyle off his game in the corporate battleground they're in. And if he's busy defending Claire from Audra's mean girl antics, then he might lose sight of his end goal. It could actually weaken him. I will say this, if Audra does target Claire, then it's not going to sit well with Victor. It could get Audra fired. He's not going to tolerate her treating his granddaughter badly, not for a moment. And of course, Victor doesn't even need Audra at Glissade. She is disposable at this point. All he needed her to do was undermine Tucker with the board so Victor could buy the company out from under him, and that's all done. So Audra may think she can outmaneuver Kyle, but she's not going to be able to do that with Victor. He holds all the power and can snap his fingers and remove her from Glissade anytime that he wants. So yeah, I think Audra may target Claire to try and destabilize Kyle, but I also think Audra might find out it's a misstep that could come back to bite her. Between Victor's wrathful protection of his family and Claire herself being more than she appears to be on the surface, Audra seems destined to fail.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.